From trash talkers like Conor McGregor who can make your ears bleed, to ultimate rule breakers like Rosema Palez who don't give a damn about their opponents, the world of MMA has seen its fair share of bad guys. So let's get ready to cringe as I list down the most hated MMA fighters of all time. Who can top the list if not the ultimate baddie of the MMA world, Conor McGregor?
But me, I don't need rules. I am the f***ing rule, so I'm up here facing a man that has a win over me and holds 30 pounds in weight on me. Look around the fight game. No one else is doing this. Nobody else.
Oh man, now what can I say about him? Look, some people do love him, but I gotta admit, he's not exactly everyone's cup of tea. The dude's always talking smack, insulting his opponents left and right like it's no big deal. I mean, I get it, trash talk is part of the game, but sometimes he takes it a little too far, you know? And don't even get me started on that whole bus incident. Who does that kind of stuff? But it's not just his mouth that rubs people the wrong way. McGregor's always showing off his fancy clothes, expensive cars, and all his other pricey purchases. I mean, come on, this is MMA, not a fashion show. Plus, lately, he's been more focused on making money and getting involved in other sports and businesses than actually fighting. Come on, Conor, we want to see you in the octagon, not playing around with boxing or whatever. Don't get me wrong, I know he's a talented fighter, but sometimes it feels like he's more interested in being a showman than a real fighter. And that's why, for many, McGregor is one of the most hated fighters out there. He just can't catch a break among MMA fans. And neither can Josh Koscheck, although it's not hard to see why Josh is one of the most hated MMA fighters.
He says, I was watching you guys' show the other day, and he said something about, he's on George St. Pierre is going to kick my ass. He wants George St. Pierre to beat me down. You know what, Tito, guess what? I want to fight you next.
First, he's always been a pretty cocky guy, which has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But what really sealed the deal for most fans was after talking trash and making claims all these years, he couldn't even back himself up when the time came to fight, leading to the infamous UFC 124, where he was dismantled very easily by George St. Pierre. But that didn't stop the dude. In fact, Koscheck's been involved in plenty of other incidents where he's played dirty, which is why, overall, he is just not a likable guy. His arrogance, dirty fighting tactics, and his overall bad attitude makes him one of the most despised fighters in MMA history. But do people dislike him as much as Colby Covington? I bet not.
I should have knocked him out. Brazil, you're a dog. All you filthy animals suck. I got one thing to say. Tyrone Woodley, I'm coming for you. If you don't answer the front door, I'm going to knock it in, and I'm going to take what's mine. That welterweight belt.
Because Colby, well, there's a guy who knows how to make people hate him. This dude is always running his mouth, talking trash about everyone and everything. And I mean, sure, some fighters do that to hype up their fights, but Covington takes it to a whole new level. He's insulted entire countries, made fun of other fighters' families, and said some pretty disgusting stuff about other people in the sport. But it's not just his mouth that makes him hated. Covington's also been involved in some pretty controversial incidents. Remember when he got into a fight with Fabricio Verdum outside of a hotel? Sure, it was Verdum who hit him, but do you remember that it was Colby's comments about Brazilian animals that started it? It just goes to show that you can be a super talented fighter, but you won't always be liked well. His trash talk and controversial behavior have made him a polarizing figure, to say the least. Then we have Michael Bisping.
Because you were so scared of everybody taking steroids, I was man enough to still be fighting those guys. You went away, you went and chased aliens. I don't know what you did. No one gives a fuck where you were or what you did. You're coming back. The sport is a different place. Game over.
Now this guy's definitely got a reputation for being a bit of a jerk. First, there's the whole issue of him being an abusive coach on The Ultimate Fighter. He said some pretty nasty things to his team members, and there were even rumors that he spat on one of them. Not cool, man. But it's not just his behavior on the show that's made fans dislike him. Bisping's also been known to be pretty abrasive toward fans. There have been multiple reports of him being rude and dismissive to fans who approach him for autographs or photos. And then there was that time he got into a physical altercation with a fan at a gym in California. Yeah, definitely not a good look. Of course, Bisping's personality is also part of what made him a successful fighter. He's always been pretty good at getting under his opponent's skin, and his trash talk has earned him a lot of attention. But for many fans, it's hard to overlook his past behavior. While some may love him for his fighting skills and his personality, others can't stand him because of the very same reason. And on that note, let me move on to the next guy on my list, Jon Jones.
100%.
There you have it, guys. There you have it.
And you honestly
And he's
believe
still going down
that
on
I
Saturday.
beat you and I beat every other 24 fights that I've ever been in against the baddest dudes in the world because a microscopic pictogram. You honestly believe that?
I do.
good.
Now, he's arguably one of the most talented fighters in MMA history, but also one of the most controversial. Let's start with his drug history. Jones has failed multiple drug tests over the years, and there have been a lot of rumors about him using performance-enhancing drugs. Then, there are his legal issues. He's been arrested multiple times, including a hit-and-run incident in 2015, where he fled the scene after crashing into a pregnant woman's car, which is like the worst thing one could do, right? But it's not just his off-the-cage behavior that's made Jones hated by some fans. He's also had some pretty reckless incidents inside the cage, like the time he landed illegal elbows on Matt Hamill and was disqualified. And then there was the infamous brawl with Daniel Cormier at a press conference, where Jones threw a punch and chaos ensued. All that said, there's no denying that Jones is an incredible fighter, but his personal issues have definitely rubbed some fans the wrong way, and it's hard to blame them, as much as it's hard to blame fans for hating the one and only Quinton Rampage Jackson. This guy's been in the MMA game for a while now, and he's definitely had his share of ups and downs. He's known for his power and striking ability, and he's had some really memorable fights over the years, but he's also had some run-ins with the law. In 2008, he was arrested after leading police on a car chase through California. Then there was the time he caused a stir by joking about abuse during an interview, causing a lot of media controversy after. Despite all that, Rampage remains a fan favorite for many, but if he continues to behave the way he does, well, you never know when he will become the target, right? There's another guy on this list going through the same thing. Tito Ortiz is a former UFC light heavyweight champion and a veteran of the sport. Known for his brash personality and his trash talking, Ortiz doesn't have a likable personality. He once refused to let go of a chokehold on a tapped-out opponent, which resulted in a lot of backlash from fans and even other fighters. Another time, he was involved in a heated rivalry with Ken Shamrock, which culminated in a fight that saw Ortiz defeat Shamrock in the first round. While he's definitely a polarizing figure, there's no denying that Ortiz has had a successful career in MMA. But how long is that going to shield him, huh? And I'll say the same for Rosima Paes, who's an infamous Brazilian fighter who can never play by the rules. This guy was a submission machine, but he also had a nasty habit of holding on to his submissions long after his opponents had tapped out. Let's not forget the injuries he caused by his unsportsmanlike behavior. He's been suspended multiple times and warned by the UFC, but he just couldn't help himself. It's no surprise that fans and fighters alike can't stand him. What really grinds people's gears, though, is that the UFC continued to support Paes for far too long. Some people felt like they should have made an example out of him, but instead, they just let him keep on breaking the rules. It wasn't until 2013 that he was finally released from the UFC, but the damage was already done. Now, he's just another one of those fighters that fans love to hate. And with that, I end my list of the most hated MMA fighters of all time.